Hi, and welcome to this new CGTUTS tutorial. Today we're going to do a brief overview of the current state of the Blender 2.5 project. It's been a few weeks since the release of Alpha 0, and I'm going to use a newer revision of the project, which includes a more organized shortcut editor, Indirect Diffuse Lighting, the new sculpting tools, and multi-resolution, and several things more. I didn't want this to be just this is here and it does that, even though half of the video is like it. But we're going to also build a small scene and try to showcase one of these features a bit more, which is the indirect lighting one. Let's start. So, this is how Blender 2.5 Alpha 0 looks like when you first open it. And first off, you're gonna notice that there's this new splash screen with some Durian concept art for now. And there's a couple of lists below it. On the left, you got useful links like the release logs and the Python API. And to the right, there's a list of recent files you've used. So let's have a look at it. We got our 3D view in the center. There's no more buttons panel below it. Instead, we have a properties window to the right, and just on top of it, there's the outliner already open. Let's have a look at this properties window. First off, you can see there's only one line of icons with the options available. We'll talk about it more later. And let's focus on the 3D window. Here on the left, you can see the new tools panel. You can turn it on and off with T. And there you can find all the tools available in the respective mode you're in. I just duplicated the default cube, and as you can see here, you can also add your own tools, which is quite handy. Right now I've just added the link and append option, but no, never mind. Also, there I just show you there's the smooth option and the flat option for the shading of the objects is in there too. It's something that you have to keep in mind, that all the tools are moved to this panel. You can see here the options are different when you are in a different mode, and you can access this through the view menu. And there's also the properties panel that is no longer floating in the 3D view. Instead, it's to the right side of it, hidden like the tool panel. There's different options in here. There's also the material mode, where you can switch to GLSL or whatever you want to use. It's no longer in the game menu. Also, there's the grease pencil in there. And when the panels are closed, you can see on the corners there's a small plus icon that you can use to show them. Let's have a look at the user preferences. Okay, the first thing we'll notice is that we're going to open the user preferences from the menu, and it will open in a new window, since Blender is multi-window now. This means also that you will no longer see the preferences if you move the top header, uh, which is, it's alright, I don't care about it, but it was a shock at first. And here you will find most of the usual options Blender had before. I'm not sure if there's any change in this. But if we go into the input tab, there's a lot of interesting new things in here. First, there's the continuous grab, which allows you to keep applying the input from your mouse to the object even if you reach the border of the screen. And there's the switch to select from left to right button to select. Prefer it to keep it in the right. And I also use the emulate numpad because I find it useful to change views with my left hand, maybe because I'm lefty, I don't know. And also there's the turntable option for the 3D view, which I prefer. But the important thing in here is this huge list on the right, which is the key maps for every context in Blender, where you can change and edit all the shortcuts you want from Blender. There's been a lot of people asking for this, and this is finally coming along. I don't care that much. I think I'm gonna learn the default Blender 2.5 key maps, but it's a useful option to have. Also, you can change the theme for every window as you did before. And this here we have a new option, a playback animation option, which allows you to select external players and applications for DJ. I haven't tried it, but it looks like a useful option. And finally, in the system panel, there's a few new options, like the way Blender redraws the scene, the interface, sorry. And there's also this option that I'm not gonna use right now, which is vertex buffer objects, which helps with speed in the 3D view. Okay, that's it for the user preferences for now. And let's have a look at this couple of windows we have at the right of the 3D view. As I said before, we got the outliner on top, which has few more options in there. Like one of them is user preferences too. You can view and access all the key maps, all the preferences in there, also the key maps. But I'm not gonna focus on this right now. Just leave it on all scene, and let's have a look at the properties. There, the first tab is the render tab, the scene tab, sorry. There's a new presets added, and here I'm trying to highlight with the mouse the color management option, which uses, as the tooltip says, the color profile from the screen to keep a linear workflow. And there's a few new options in there more, but we'll talk about it later. And let's select the next property, context, and you can see in there that there's a units option in there where you can select different ones. Now this is the world properties with a new preview window, objects, then constraints and modifiers. And then in the material properties we can find the new volume material. rendering volumetrics, and to the right of the list there's the particles and the physics properties, where we can see the new smoke option. Well, sadly we're not going to look into that now. So let's go back to the 3D view and let's switch to sculpt mode. You can find now all the tools for sculpting in the tool panels. You can do brush presets. The clay brush is added too. And mostly all the tools are the same we had before, but they're all arranging here in the tool panel. And the other side of the sculpting, which is the multi-resolution, is now a modifier. So go to the modifier properties and add it to your object. There are a few things new here, but we're not going to go into that. And instead we're going to load the scene we're going to work on. Okay, here's the rendered result of what we're going to do. I've used this simple scene to showcase the new Indirect Diffuse Lighting. As you can see, the parts of the objects that are set to emit now emit light thanks to this. So I've been able to light the scene just with ambient occlusion and this indirect diffuse lighting. So let's have a look at what we have in the scene. We got a text object, couple of different objects, the spheres, an empty for the depth of field, and a box to contain them. Again, no lights. Now let's have a look at the nodes, which are quite similar. The focus node I already explained in my previous tutorial. So what we're going to do is try to replicate this scene right now and see what it needs to be done. So let's clear the scene, and I'm going to delete the light and leave the camera and the cube in there, and we're gonna use this cube to contain our scene. So I'm going to move it up. Nothing new here, it's the same as Blender 249. Here I'm scaling, constraining the Z axis, and I'm going to select the top face and delete it. Now that this is not here, we can select the edge loop on the top. And move it up. Okay, once we have this, we can go back to the object mode. And since I'm not gonna use it, I'm gonna move it to another layer. Just press M to open it. And this is another new thing. If you press the spacebar here, you get a list of operators and a search box where you can search what you want, and this will come up, like add sphere. It's quite useful, but you have to know the name you're looking for. Then another new thing is these options when you add a new object in the tools panel, where you can choose how many faces and what's going to be the size of your object. You can also go into edit mode when you add the object if you choose to. Quite handy. So again I'm going to set smooth to this sphere, and let's go into edit mode and start making our lamps. This is a really simple object and it won't take us much. I'm going to select the center vertex of the top of the sphere, and with Ctrl plus expand the selection to the desired level of faces you want. And now with this I'm going to extrude it, constraining it to the Z-axis and moving it down. So this way we have already separated the light from the body of our lamp. And now with reducing the selection, I'm going to extrude again to move down the center of the light. That way there will be a bigger area in there reflecting light into each other and making this spot brighter than the rest. And finally I'm going to add a couple more extrusions along the sphere so the shape is a bit more interesting, and also this will affect the lighting later too. Just extrude and escape from it. Now scale constraining the Z-axis with Shift C. And there we have the basic shape of our object. Now if we go back to object mode to see how it looks, you will see that it looks quite ugly. And what we need now is to make some edges sharp so they keep the shape right, whereas at the same time the rest of the object is completely smooth. So just select with the Alt key press to get all the edge loops you want, then Ctrl E to bring up the edges menu and select Mark Sharp. Now as you can see there are some edges that I haven't selected, and it's because if I had done that it would have selected the faces from the edges near to them, and we don't want all the edges to be sharp. There I left one, I knew. So now with all the edges that we want to be sharp marked as sharp, we can go to the modifiers and add a new modifier called edge split. As you can see, the modifier list now is much better organized and with handy icons. And there, deselect edge angle, so only the edges marked sharp are the ones that are going to remain sharp. And this is basically all the modeling you need to do this. I'm going to add a subsurf modifier, subdivision surface, sorry, new name. And this is it. Now we have our sphere lamps done. So let's apply some materials to it. Again, I'm going to select the center vert of the sphere and grow selection from that to select only the area of the object that's going to be a light. And now let's go to the material properties, and we're going to add a couple of materials and assign each of them to a different part of the mesh. First, I'm going to create the material for the light. And also notice that the way we're going to add new materials to different parts of the object is with the material index on top of the material properties. And with this new index, just select the material and make it the unique user. Um, I've assigned the wrong faces in there. There's less than it should be, and there's more in here. So I'm going to reduce the selection and assign the faces again. There I need to grow this selection and assign. And there we have. Oh, this is weird. Now, okay. So now that we have our two different materials applied to different parts of the mesh, let's have a look at how the material properties look now. You can see there's the usual preview options, but the preview window is new. You can add ramps now from the diffuse or the specular colors with an option in there. Now mirror and transparency and subsurface, everything has its own space now. So this is the new color picker, which is quite cool. And let's turn the color to sort of orange for our light. This is going to be the first one. And then there's the emit option, which was in there already, but we're going to need it to make our object shine. And now for the rest of the lamp, I'm going to select gray, darker gray. Also, I forgot to say before, there's a couple of different options for the color picker. I wanted this to be a value of 0.4. And we're going to make this material a mirror. So select the mirror option and turn up the reflectivity of it, and put the Fresnel up a bit too. Just I think that would be too much. That's okay. So this is the basic materials we're going to use for our object. Let's position it in the screen the way we want. I'm going to turn back on the layer with the box. Now I'm trying to find the right angle. First I'm going to move the light. I'm going to make it look at the floor so we can see the light reflecting in there more. Now I just brought in here the camera, so you can see the properties options have changed because this is a different kind of object you have selected. And I'm going to change the angle of the camera a bit and move it forward. I'm still moving the camera around. I'm putting too much effort in this because I surely change it later when I have all the elements in the scene. And now what I'm going to do is duplicate the lamp and move it forward. Just scale it down a bit. All of the shortkeys that I'm not naming is because they are the same as they were before Blender 2.5. And okay, I'm still rotating the second light, and what I'm going to do is make this material unique to it and change its color to white. Pretty simple. Okay, let's rotate it a bit more, and next up we're going to add the text object. To bring up the add menu, you can go to the top header, or you can use Shift A. It's no longer in the spacebar. There I just added the text object. Now I'm going to move it and rotate it, constraining the x-axis. And this is a good object as a reminder of what it is this release, because I'm going to add a material, but when we go to the text options, we'll see that there are a lot of things missing in there, and this is a good reminder that this is an alpha release and this is being heavily worked on yet. But anyway, you can already do some pretty cool stuff with it. I'm just changing the extrude option for the text and the bevel depth and resolution, and let's tab to the edit mode and change the text. I'm going to use Blender 2.5 this time. So back into object mode, scale it down to fit your needs. And this is pretty much it for now. I'm not going to show you the rest of the modeling since it's just duplicating two lights. So let's move on. This is the already finished scene. I've changed some values in there and I added the two lamps in the back of the scene. So let's go to the scene properties and change the size of the render and a few more things. Also, you can see now in the performance properties there are different structures for the ray tracer to use. I'm gonna leave it in auto. Let's hope it chooses wisely. And now let's go to the world properties and activate Approximate Ambient Occlusion, since the indirect lighting only works in here. And you can find this value in here at the bottom of the ambient occlusion properties. Indirect defines how much diffuse lighting is going to be, and the bounces value increases the quality but also increases render time. I'm going to change the sky to a very dark one, and let's do a render and see how it looks without indirect lighting. This is it, the ambient materials emitting but no light in there. And now let's have a look at how the scene looks with ambient occlusion turned on. It obviously will take longer to render, but also the screen will remain black because due to occlusion preprocessing longer than before. But it renders faster later, so there's no problem with that. And here we have it. We have some light due to ambient occlusion, and we also have the light emitted from our objects from the indirect diffuse lighting. There are a couple of spots that looked a bit weird. I'm going to change some more the values for the text object, but it's not going to solve anything, I guess. And also I'm not satisfied enough with background. It looks, I want it to be darker, so let's try again. I skipped the render this time, but let's move on to adding the depth of field effect that the original image had. Okay, so to use the focus node, we'll need an object to be the center of the focus of the camera. So let's move the cursor to our text object, and I'm going to add an empty in there. I'm going to move it to the 5. The dot, I'm not sure. Yeah, the 5. I already showed you in another tutorial how to set this up, but I think it was kinda cool because of this. You can now click a drop down list to select the object, and just like this you can do that with material and several different options, which is quite useful. Oh, I can't believe I've gone this far without showing you how to merge and separate the windows like we did before. As you can see me doing here, what you do is grab the corner where are 3 lines in there, and just wait till the cursor changes and click and drag. And it's basically the same for merging them. Just click in the corner and then drag over the window you want to merge with. And here we are again in Nodes editor. I'm going to add the focus node and the viewer. I'm not sure, I can't find the nodes with the search function in the spacebar, and I have to look it up because I don't know what to do to bring up the nodes in there. I wanted to show you this node even though we've seen it in a different tutorial, because there's a little option in there that is a bit different, and is that you have to enable use C buffer to make the node work when you're using the actual C buffer from the scene and not an image. Well, that's what the tooltip says, and you can see it later because all the image will be blurred. So let's do a test render. I'm going to put the size up a bit so we can see it better, and also we can see how long it takes to render this. Okay, this is the done render. It took 49 seconds, which is pretty fast. Perhaps we should have had more faces in there. But if you turn up the bounce option in the indirect lighting, I can assure you will go up. So we're almost done with this. I'm just going to show you the use C buffer option activated in there, so you can actually see the depth of field starts happening, and it also brings some artifacts. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to add just another node, glare node with the streaks option selected. So we have subtle light streaks coming in from the white material. And this is all for now. I hope you enjoyed this brief overview of how Blender 2.5 looks right now, and we'll see you next time.